Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. UFC Macau probably has one of the best Chinese prospects fighting on the card. Kong Wang, the Joker. She even paints her face like
That's
the
cool.
Joker.
That's cool.
Which
why not do fun shit like that?
exactly, right?
Yeah.
And then she does this like thing, like like the
Right,
Joker where she
right.
wins too,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is if you can't speak the language,
Get
do
out
something.
of the kitchen.
Get out of the kitchen, but then come back to the kitchen and cook something up so everybody
Right.
can relate to you, right?
Yes, yes.
And I don't know if she can speak English, probably not, because I don't think I've ever seen her. But like her playing the character as the Joker, like the bad girl, like the one that's gonna come in and disrupt
cool
things.
Shit. I like it. Yeah.
It's
I'm
not
about
like
it.
you be the Batman. You know what I mean? Like who gives a fuck about Batman?
Yeah, nobody
right?
gives a fuck about Batman.
So and Joker is like big right now too, right? The movies are out.
That's true.
Like, so
she knows how to promote herself.
exactly, right? Her first. Well, we're gonna talk about her first fight, but let's talk about the tail of the tape. Kong Wang, she's 6-0, undefeated, facing Gabriella Fernandez.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriella 9-3. When you look at the tail of the tape, both very similar age. Gabriella 31, Kong Wang 32, but she's had a long career before MMA, so you got to keep that in mind as well. 125 pounds, obviously. Flyweight division, both 5'6", and reaches the same.
Okay.
Right.
Virtually identical.
Virtually identical. So let's start with Kong Wang. She is a kickboxer, boxer. Like she's done a lot of the striking aspect of MMA before she's got into MMA.
Yeah.
Right. So she's actually coming in to MMA, actually coming into the UFC at the best age for her, because she's developed everything much, right?
Yeah.
Especially her striking.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is she has as many TKO finishes as she does submission finishes.
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't have imagined that.
Yeah, so
okay,
and she's fought at like higher weight classes too,
right,
which is wild to me, right? She's fought at bigger weight classes. Before she fought on Road to UFC, right?
Yeah.
Before she fought on Road to UFC, she fought in and this was all this year. Like, let's just talk about this year, right?
Okay.
This year, January, she fought Mulan. Do you know who Mulan is?
I
Mulan,
know the
she used
Disney
to
princess.
Fight, well, there's a fighter, Wu Yanan. Wu Yanan. She used to fight for the UFC. She was a bantamweight.
Okay.
Wang, what is it? Kong Wang. She fought her at bantamweight.
Oh, wow.
Beat her by decision. So she fought a weight class above. Then May, Road to UFC, called her. She fought Paula Luna.
Mm-hmm.
Guillotine choked her in the first round.
Nice.
Right?
Cool.
And one thing I like about seeing a striker getting a guillotine finish, I love that. I love a striker that can have a solid guillotine.
Well, yeah, this is mixed martial arts, right?
And then, people are trying to take you down, you know what I mean? Like, if you have a crazy guillotine, that's going to be very helpful.
Yeah, because you always see those people who are strikers and they will, like, go for a guillotine and you're like, shit, like, why didn't they just properly defend it, Like, they just think, okay, I'll just go for this, and 9 times out of 10, it ends up being them, getting taken to the ground. But for something like that, that's awesome, To be like, hey, by the way, I am a mixed martial artist. I'm not just a kickboxer. I can choke you out. Yeah, it's cool.
Definitely cool. And, so she won that Road to UFC fight. UFC signed her instantly.
Yep.
The backstory obviously is like she's solid boxing, solid kickboxing. Fought Valentina Shevchenko, beat her. It's the whole Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira thing on a lighter level, right?
It's happening again.
Exactly, right? And she's already been talking about Valentina,
right?
Even after her first fight. So she made her debut after the Road to UFC in August. Got a first round knockout, like a cold knockout, not like Oh, the referee stopped the fight. Like
That
she
one.
punched her and
And
then
it was
walked
like
off.
the first two punches that like legitimately landed
Exactly.
as well. It was
Exactly.
like fresh.
62 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And it was a good test for her too as well for her debut because
Mhm.
Victoria Leonardo, right? She's more of like an all-around fighter. She doesn't
Right.
really strong in one aspect.
Right.
Maybe if you put her strong in one thing, it would be like more of her grappling.
Mhm.
And she couldn't. She didn't even have an opportunity to grapple. It was
Yeah.
just
Because
she
she's
got
out
knocked
cold.
out,
Yeah.
right? She's
Yeah.
not. I don't even think she's with the UFC anymore after that fight. I think she
Shit.
got cut. But anyways, yeah. So we've been singing the praises of Kong Wang. What do you think of her? Like, what did you? I think you said you watched the Valentina
Yeah,
fight.
man.
What you
I
seen
think
there?
she's so cool. Honestly, I'm her new biggest fan. I watched that fight that was like in 2015, and just the amount of pressure she was giving Valentina, and she wasn't scared of her at all. She was just pushing forward and just throwing, like it was like the way she strikes is like what you want in a striker is where they like it's hard to describe, but you're thinking while you're not thinking. Like she was just able to just whip shit out, out of her back pocket, like all kinds of crazy moves. And it was like, but she was doing it effectively, and it wasn't as if she was just gunning forward and going crazy. Like it was technical, but it was just it seemed so effortless. And Valentina, you could tell, was struggling, and like, in the later rounds, like all Valentina could do out of frustration was just like try and hold her. And in a kickboxing fight, obviously, it just kept having to break them up. So to see Valentina frustrated like that, was pretty impressive, and kind of, yeah, got me excited for this fight for sure.
All right. So on the other side, we got Gabriella Fernandez, Brazil.
Yep.
In the house.
Brazil.
31 years old. She trains out of MMA Masters in Miami. Her UFC record is 1-2. So she debuted in 2023, early
Okay.
2023, February against Jasmine Jasuvicius.
Oh, yeah.
And got dominated with the grappling, and that one lost that by decision. Then she came back in June of that year, got Teresa Bleda and lost that one by decision as well. Then this year, earlier in June, she fought Carly Judice, and they got fight of the night, and she won that fight by split decision. So that was a gritty fight.
Yeah.
That was an exciting fight, and and she got on the winning track. But the UFC is not doing her no favors by matching her up
No.
against Kong Wang,
In
right?
China.
And the thing is, like, when you look at her, Gabriella, right, and her style, she's not a strong grappler.
I mean, she is a black belt.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, nowadays, I don't think that really means much.
Yeah, that's true.
'Cause
Also,
there's,
she
like,
could
so
be
many
a black
black belts
belt
now.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah, who's handing out all these black belts?
I don't know, but the
Where's
thing
my
is,
black
like,
belt?
you don't wear the black belt when you're grappling with no gi, right? Like,
This is
when
true.
you're-
Yeah,
When you're
it's
half
true.
naked, there's no belt.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, no, I know, but it's still like she should still have. I don't know. I'm like, yeah.
Well, there's like grappling, and then there's
Yeah.
wrestling,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
right? And sometimes the grapplers can't even get the fight to the ground because they're not strong with the wrestling aspect,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you can't really pull guard, like, that's a dangerous,
Very dangerous.
very dangerous
Yeah,
thing
when
to
it
be
comes
doing
to
in
MMA
MMA,
grappling,
right?
especially. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Get
And
punched
when
in
you
the face.
and so when you look at her, even though she's a black belt, she primarily likes to strike,
Yeah.
and and you could tell, like, her grappling is good, but it's not to the level of, like, a lot of the girls in the UFC.
Yeah.
Obviously, from her performances against Jasmine. Jasmine is a heavy grappler,
Mhm.
and Jasmine, controlled her for most of the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like this is like a setup fight.
Yeah.
Kong
Really.
Wang.
Honestly, yeah.
The Joker's like, she's Batman, and Gabriella's Batman.
Yeah.
No, I don't really watch Batman,
Um,
so who's like
uh,
Two-Face or something? I don't know.
yeah, I
Like
don't
who
know.
does
Robin.
like the Joker? Who does the Joker want to
Gabriella's
kill?
Robin.
All right, what? It's a setup fight, I think. To be honest, like
Yeah.
I know, like when we say that we're like not giving Gabriella a chance, but to be honest with you, I think the UFC they're doing a lot of this nowadays, where they
Yeah.
see a little bit of something in somebody, and they're
Yeah.
like, all right, let's put you here.
Yeah,
We
they
can
want to
build up your
promote.
record.
They want to promote her, and also with the fact that she's beat Valentina as well. Just like you said, it's an Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya kind of situation,
Yeah.
right? And that would make some big money for sure, because Valentina is a star in the UFC. And for someone to have beaten her, although it wasn't MMA, still counts, and it was a very dominant win from what I saw. Yeah, it does seem like they're setting her up. But at the same time, she is incredibly talented. And you also can't give her a fight right away that's like a contender, right? Because then otherwise people will be like, well, now you've obviously given her, this great advantage. So they do have to make it seem like they're, giving her opponents that are matched up to her in terms of like in terms of placement in the roster, right? It still has to be a gradual upbringing of a fighter, right? It can't just be like, oh, we're gonna put you up with the number 5 contender, right? So although it is kind of a setup, it's also like, what else are they supposed to do in order to bring her into the game, right?
For Gabriella to win this fight, this is the way I feel like if I was her corner or, a coach or whatever,
Yeah.
even though I'm not, and people should never take my advice on fighting because I'm not a fighter. But this is what I envision her and maybe how she wins the fight. Is she marches forward,
Yeah.
covers up really well,
Yeah.
and marches forward and kind of lets Kong Wang like throw punches, throw kicks, like
Yeah.
see what she wants to do, right?
Yeah.
And kind of like try to absorb as much as she can. If
Yeah.
she's tough enough, she could probably do that, right?
Yeah.
You can look at Charles Oliveira, like you just saw last weekend. He would just march forward and take shots and then absorb it and then go forward.
Yeah.
Like that style.
Yeah.
She needs to do that style against
Yeah.
Kong Wang
Yeah.
to win. And
Yeah.
then when she gets tight, like clinch up with her, get double underhooks,
Yeah.
something like judo trips, something like
Something.
to get it to the ground.
Yeah.
And even though maybe and when you get to the ground, don't take risks.
Yeah.
Like the win
Just
is the most
hold.
important thing because you don't want to give her like
Hold
a
on
little
for dear
bit
life.
of a hole to like get up.
Yeah.
And then now you're in her world again.
Yeah.
Like, does she have the cardio? Does she have the conditioning to go up and down, up and down? And
Right.
you could say the same thing about the Joker. Right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it would be that just getting taken down and then the act of getting up is so tiring. It's so unbelievably tiring.
What about someone had a triangle, body triangle, and then you get up with them on your back like
Yeah.
Michael Chandler did twice?
Yeah.
How does he do that?
I don't know, because he's just a
And it's the end of the end of the fifth, like it was the 5th round too.
Yeah.
Like he just had gone through like pretty much five
hell
rounds
and
of
back.
hell,
Yeah.
and he still has the strength
Yeah.
to
Well,
get up.
he's
Like you're not gonna see that in this
exceptional.
fight. Let's just say that.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, Gabriella, is that her name? Gabriella's she has to pressure forward because as well, I've seen her fights and she doesn't know how, like she doesn't know how to fight on the back foot. So as long as she maintains pressure and gets close enough to hold, then I could see her, getting the advantage. But I just think Kong Wang is just exceptional.
Yeah.
And I just really cannot see Gabrielle winning in any fashion.
This is a showcase fight. What I really see, this is my prediction,
Yeah.
is that Kong Wang goes in there and gets another knockout win.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna happen in pretty much the same way
Yeah,
it
let's
did
see another
before,
showstopper.
right?
Yeah.
And this is gonna set up Kong Wang for like a little bit well-known fighter.
Yeah.
And then the next matchup, and then you build, because they're trying to build up a highlight reel for Kong Wang in
Right.
the UFC.
Right.
Build up the highlight reel, and then next thing you know, give her the test. Maybe in her 4th fight, give her the test. If she beats that, you pretty much like if you give her a ranked opponent in her 4th fight, and it's like a middle ranked opponent, someone that's kind of well known, been around the division for a while, you could catapult her to a title shot if
Yeah.
Valentina's still the champion.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally, 100%. I mean, we saw it with Alex Pereira. Like, how many fights did he have to fight? Only like 3 or 4 until
Yeah.
he fought like a real ranked opponent. Yeah.
and a lot of good stylistic matchups for him as well in those.
Yeah,
in those
definitely,
fights.
definitely.
But yeah, like I'm, I'm, I'm looking at Kong Wang as like one of those fighters out of Asia that's gonna do some things.
I think so too.
And
I'm gonna be following
and
her
it's
for
cool
sure.
that it's a woman too, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's cool that it's a woman. Like Zhang Wei Li is the standard.
Yeah, and she's
Right?
savage too,
Yeah.
man.
And Yan Jianan too. She's been
Yeah.
around forever. She's a savage as well. But like I feel like she's the next one.
Yeah.
And she's at flyweight, which is good. There's not like
Right.
it's a different
Yeah.
weight class than Wei Li. But yeah, like excited to see what she can do, and yeah, I think she gets a TKO win. She's a massive favorite, like -600.
Yeah, yeah. I think full on KO. Let's get another full on knockout, like the last one. That's what I'm banking on.